decade duels. The year we got was 1973, the first year of the designated hitter. So you want to start us off with the AL MVP for that year and who the runner-up was?
Yes, definitely. As you mentioned, this was prior to the player being a New York Yankee in the 1978 World Series. He was the AL MVP in 1973. The Oakland Athletics' Reginald Martinez Jackson,
Oh, the hipster
uh,
himself.
also known as the great hitter Reggie Jackson. And yes, that time the hips didn't really lie. That's for sure. He had a stellar season in 1973, hitting 293, led the league in home runs with 32 and 117 RBIs. Also led in slugging with 531. That's unbelievable. 914 OPS and 99 runs scored. His teammate, his team, the Oakland A's, were in the middle of the World Series winning dynasty, where Jackson was also named the World Series MVP, batting 310 and 6 RBIs in the World Series. The A's would also win the World Series in 72 and 74. A landslide victory for the MVP honors for Reggie Jackson that year, receiving 24 first place votes. So he had a stellar career indeed. Um, the 1973 AL MVP runner up was Baltimore Orioles pitcher Jim Palmer. Also had a really good season. Finished 22-9, 22 games. It's unbelievable. Who wins like 20 games still in this era, my friend? Led the league in ERA with 240, 296.1 innings pitched, 86 runs and 73 earned runs, 158 strikeouts and 113 walks. Uh, Palmer won the Cy Young Award that year, not the MVP. He beat out Nolan Ryan and Jim Catfish Hunter for the honors, who
Oh man,
finished second and third respectively.
three Hall of Famers. Holy
Yeah,
moly!
unbelievable. The trio. If you look at a trio of pitchers, that this would be the three to put in your Mount Rushmore pitchers. Um, yeah, I mean Nolan Ryan finished 21 and 16 that year, 287 ERA and 383 strikeouts. Like who strikes out
383.
383
What did
strikeouts?
Palmer have? Like 150 something. That's
158.
like he had like 200 more strikeouts than Jim Palmer.
Yeah,
What the hell did he not
unbelievable.
win the Cy Young? Oh,
The Ryan Express, man. The
holy cow!
stellar. And also Jim Catfish Hunter finished 21-5,
Oh,
334 ERA and 124 strikeouts.
jeez.
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable pitchers at the time. Palmer's team, the Orioles, won the East Division title that year,
Oh,
but lost to the Oakland A's in the league championships in 5 games, 3 games to two. Yeah, definitely a fair for me. Reggie Jackson had a stellar career, landslide victor of the award, and also winning the World Series MVP in the middle of an Oakland A's dynasty that
oh,
one that is truly one for the books.
an MVP clean
Great,
sweep that year for him, eh?
definitely, and it's a great time back in the day to be an Oakland A's fan. And Jim Palmer too. Even though he didn't win the MVP, he won the Cy Young against two of the greats, Ryan and Catfish Hunter.
Man, what a battle! That was an interesting year actually to see that Jim Palmer was a runner-up, but yeah, Reggie was so good. I mean,
Yeah,
you can't
stellar,
stop the
very
guy. I
stellar
mean, he probably helped Oakland beat Palmer in that those playoffs. So I mean, I guess it might have been justified as well.
for sure.
Something that's unjustified is the NL MVP that year. The MVP that year was Pete Rose of the Cincinnati Reds,
Good
everyone's
old
favorite.
Charlie Hustle.
Good old Charlie Hustle. Only thing he hustled with was make sure he got his bookies picks in time. So yeah, this is a battle. This is a battle of Hall of Famers to say so. The Reds they won the division that year, but they lost in the NLCS to the Mets. Um, he led the league with crazy 230 hits, and I don't think we see that many hits anymore. When was the last time we saw 230 hits? 338 batting average, so he led the league as well. He actually had 74 more hits than his runner-up that year. The MVP was Willie Stargell. Rose is a third in WAR. He only had 5 homers and 64 RBIs. Like if you just look at those stats alone, I'd be like, this guy's not. How is this guy won the MVP? So I don't know how many of those hits were actually impactful because he did have so many hits. But he was only third in runs, and he only had 9 more than Willie Stargell, despite getting on base with all those hits and being a much better, like much faster runner than Willie. Because Pops was a big guy, right? Like,
Yeah.
he was only sixth in on base percentage. Like that boggles my mind. Like 15th in OPS, like 15th. Like that's how the hell did he win the MVP that year? He wasn't even the best player in his own team. Like Joe Morgan, he had way more impactful numbers than Rose. Like he had over 60 stolen bases, like 290 something average. Like, and he had full point higher WAR than Pete Rose. Like, I don't know if Rose was maybe he was paying off some people more. Maybe he was gambling on himself again. So
I would definitely think so. Maybe the bookies had something to do with that.
Listen to me. Looking at Pete Rose's, I don't even have to look at Willie Stargell's numbers. Looking at Pete Rose's numbers, this NL MVP is unbelievably foul. Willie Stargell, left fielder for the Pirates, the Pirates finished third that year in the East Division. They were 2.5 games back of the Mets, so maybe a little bit better pitching, better hitters. They might have actually won the division because that Pittsburgh Pirates offense was not very good that year. But Stargell led the league with 44 homers, 119 RBIs, 43 doubles. He had more doubles than Pete Rose. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Pete Rose had 230 hits. Does Pete Rose just like get a hit and walk to first base and give up? Like, is that why he didn't have impactful hits? Like, he wasn't running well enough around the bases? I thought he was Charlie Hustle. How do you let a fat guy have more doubles in you? It's ridiculous. But Pops finished first in OPS with 1.038. That was way ahead of the next closest guy, who was Darrell Evans. Darrell Evans had 959 OPS. So that tells you a lot about Willie Stargell's season that year. He had almost twice. Now get this. He almost has twice as many homers to the next closest guy on his team. Like, he also had a 7.2 WAR to lead his team. The next closest guy was Manny Sanguin at 2.9. He went from a 7 to a 2.9. That proves to me, and again, justifies that Willie Stargell was way more valuable than Pete Rose was that year to his team. And yes, you know what? They're both Hall of Famers. Willie Stargell's in the Baseball Hall of Fame, and Pete Rose is in the WWE Hall of Fame. So, and he's probably in the Gamblers Hall of Fame somewhere in Las Vegas. So that's our decade duels for this week. Agree or disagree? Good Lord, Pete Rose.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your comments below.